The sword and the axe probably the two most iconic types of melee weapons. In this video, we'll compare them and figure out which one is actually better. Let's go! The axe predates the sword by a huge margin. Archaeologists have found stone axes over 1 million years old. The first swords only appeared during the Bronze Age and didn't become common until much later. For thousands of years, humanity relied on axes as both tools and weapons. From Scandinavia to Africa, warriors used axes in battle. Among the ancient Germanic and Slavic tribes, the axe was a symbol of power, not the sword. The Roman Empire had swords thanks to its wealth and mass production, but auxiliary troops from the provinces often carried axes and hatchets. Vikings rarely used swords, they were too expensive. In the East, lightweight axes were popular too, while swords like katanas were reserved for a small elite class. So why was the axe such a dangerous weapon? The shape of the axe is perfect for delivering heavy, destructive blows. Its center of mass is shifted forward toward the blade. This gives it greater momentum with each swing, generating much more kinetic energy than a sword. A sword is better balanced, which makes it more agile, but less powerful. Against armor, especially plate armor, swords often slide off or bounce back. Axes, on the other hand, focus all force on a single point, smashing or piercing metal and delivering massive trauma underneath. Even chainmail can be damaged in one hit. Heavy battle axes like bardishas could break armor completely, and learning to strike with an axe is easier than mastering swordplay. It demands less precision and rewards brute force. In real combat, especially under stress, simplicity wins. Against wooden shields, axes perform better. They can embed into the wood, potentially ripping the shield from the opponent's hands. Some axes had hammer-like backs or spikes for armor crushing. Meanwhile, most swords are just a straight strip of sharpened metal, great for slicing, not so much for smashing. The axe is much easier to produce. It can be made in field conditions. Its blade is attached to the shaft simply, usually with a wedge or leather straps. If it breaks, it can be repaired on the spot. The shaft can be replaced with any piece of wood. A damaged sword requires a blacksmith. Even a small bend in the blade can render it unusable. The axe doesn't have a delicate edge that might break when hitting bone or metal. It's easy to sharpen. Even a dull axe is dangerous thanks to its weight and inertia. A dull sword, by contrast, is almost useless. The axe is also both weapon and tool. It can be used for chopping wood, building shelters, clearing obstacles. One item, many functions. That's critical during a campaign. The axe usually weighs less than a full sword with a scabbard. It takes up less space and is easier to conceal. When equipping armies, axes are far cheaper. They can be made from scrap metal and don't need advanced tempering. They can even be modified from household tools. The axe is simple and intuitive. Even an untrained person can learn a basic strike in 5 minutes. In situations with limited resources and manpower, that's a huge advantage. In the real world, versatility, reliability, and convenience matter, and in those categories, the axe beats the sword. But are there drawbacks? Of course. The axe is primarily a weapon for physically strong individuals. It's usually heavier than a sword, and using it over long battles becomes exhausting. The striking motion itself is more energy intensive. Some swords also had greater reach. I'm talking about long swords or hand-and-a-half swords, which could be up to 2 meters long. However, they could cost several times more than any axe. The sword also provided significant advantages in defense and counterattacks. It was more convenient when used with a small shield. So let's summarize. After analyzing the arguments above, we can conclude that the axe, in most cases, is the more effective weapon. It's easy to repair and produce, has powerful striking force, and is extremely versatile. It can be thrown, used as a secondary weapon, and isn't a huge loss if discarded. The sword, meanwhile, remains the choice of wealthy nobles or soldiers whose tactics are built specifically around swordplay like the Romans. That's all from me. Leave a like if you want a video comparing all types of swords. See you next time.